So one of the things I really have always appreciated about northern Minnesota is the lack of poisonous varmints, like spiders, snakes, things that...
Spiders aren't vermins.
Oh, to me, they're... What are they?
They suck, though.
Spiders are an
What's a varmint?
Arachnid.
Like, what's a varmint then? I mean,
A varmint
I
would
feel
be
like
like
they're
a
annoying
furry little
to
animal.
me and scary to me, so I'll just put them in that class.
same class. Okay.
Like, I feel like they would
Scary
appreciate that. They'd appreciate that classification.
Okay, I
you
got
know?
you.
A spider?
Yeah, the
Then
spiders would.
put mosquitoes in there too.
Okay, well, that won't help my story, but sure. Anyway, short story is what I appreciate about here versus anywhere else I've lived, between Austin, even Nebraska, Texas, or the Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, and
St.
here
Louis.
is there are no snakes in the water. Minus, the little man that got trapped in the lake. I'd like to hear your story and my story, but we'll put a pin in that.
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
You don't know?
No,
Well, Grandpa told me mine.
There's
but
a name for a
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. Anyway, so my whole life I've seen 2 snakes, and they've been on land. Until Labor Day, Danielle and I were floating just off our dock, and it was a drought summer. Like, the lake was down, it was hot, all the things that are typically not like it up here, and we're sitting there on our floats, and a little garter snake tries to get up on Danielle. And she screams, and I see this snake, like, it looks like a cobra to me. Like, trying to get on her,
worst.
trying to get on her
scenario.
life jacket. I scream, oh my gosh, y'all! And I've never swam so fast in my life to land. I still haven't
You
been.
didn't help her. You just swam.
No. I bypassed her. I got to shore. I ran up the dock, and I put a for sale sign out front. Like, the scariest. Now, I feel bad for the little snake because it was just like, it was probably trying to get reprieve from the heat, and it's like, here's a float I can get on. Like, I don't know. I've never seen it. Have you ever seen a snake in the water up here?
I haven't seen a snake up here, period.
Oh, I saw one under the aluminum boat.
Don't tell me that.
Literally 15 years ago. That
Yeah,
boat
the-
has been
It's
there.
dead by then. By now.
Yeah, it's
It
gone.
was a year ago. but-
And then this snake. I've
months ago.
never ever seen it. But
I just want to comment about her commitment to her marriage.
or to my life.
Yeah. Hey,
She'll tell you. I'm so glad she's not here right now because there are 4 stories she'd fly into.
I miss you, Danielle.
Yeah, exactly. We'll save those for the
you'll
next
get
one.
your time, Danielle.
She's got so many to back this
Kill
whole
her.
thing up. But yeah.
Impressive.
But I'm like, she's not afraid of snakes. I am. So I thought, I leave.
Exit.
You take care of this, and we're good.
Exit, Sarah. Danielle, you have your time with your snakes.
You know, I think this is the perfect segue to talk about bears because I just celebrated my 61st birthday, and I've been coming up to this cabin for 60 or 56 years.
Wow, only
Because-
56.
Because my first trip wasn't until I was 5 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was, and I might be lying. It might be 6. I'd have to
Is
go
that
back
because
and
at
do the
that
math.
point it was still owned by the siblings?
Well, it was
or-
still that. It wasn't because of that. It was because Mom and Dad were raising a family of 5 children,
Oh, yeah.
and Dad was working.
And he's the youngest of
And
course.
I'm the accident. I'm the youngest. I'm the baby, and Mom, sorry about that. I throw that
Well,
in there
and what
every once
year
in a
were
while.
you born?
63.
Okay, so because great Uncle Paul built his place in the 50s, and
Right.
George and Virginia bought it in the 70s. So at that point in time, this was still owned
Right, by the 4 siblings.
Yeah, similar
Right.
to this family.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And but anyway, in my time of coming up here, I have seen piles of bear shit
Sure. The remnants of.
that were evidence of. I have heard stories of bears getting into trash. I have heard stories of bears being around here. Next door neighbors told a story about a bear that came up and drank half their 30-gallon rain barrel of water before sitting down or laying down and taking a nap on the deck. So, but this year is the first year that I have seen bear. But I will have to say that, Teresa, you were the first.
Greg C. Bear.
You were the first.
Greg not like.
What?
I have not seen him.
But
So-
Teresa
so-
saw a bear
First year I've
before
seen
you.
bear.
Yeah.
Did.
So
And
what?
her. And
Yeah.
apparently him.
So one of the
Never seen
things that
That dream's been-
Stephanie alluded to a little bit earlier, but one of the things that I have found here in the last 4 or 5 years are the trails, the UTV trails and the ATV trails, and to be able to go out and explore and enjoy that. So the other night we were out driving just going for a ride, and Teresa, what did you see?
What road were we on?
I don't know what
We were on the road to Wilderness Bay.
Wilderness Bay
Yeah.
Road, yeah.
And we were just like in the ATV. And me and Greg were on the same side. We were looking out at the same point, and a bear was in the ditch, and it like hopped into the forest. And then I yelled bear, and then Greg goes, "Where?" And I'm like, "You were staring straight at it. How did you not see it?"
And I was driving, and of course, Teresa said, "Why didn't you stop?" And I said, we're not used to hearing bear. And I was trying to be safe. So, I was trying to figure out where vehicles were compared to where we
Were you in the ATV or a vehicle?
We were into the UTV.
UTV,
What's
I don't know what the
UTV
difference
versus
is.
ATV.
ATV is an all-terrain vehicle, which is a four-wheeler that
Sure.
one
Yeah.
person
Sit
usually
on.
rides. A UTV or side by side
Oh, side by
is
side
a
is what we call it.
multiple.
And we have
yeah.
a six-seater UTV
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what we have.
So
So,
no, they've got the most impressive
Utility
side,
vehicle.
side of
well, I don't know
everything.
about that, but
Well,
it's
It's
For-
very muddy now.
For
and thank you, Polaris, for this sponsorship.
yeah, exactly. But anyway, so I was driving and I said, well, we were on a highway, so I needed to make sure what was
Sure.
going on. And B, I'm not used to hearing bear. I'm used to hearing
Deer, pheasant.
or something like that,
And
where
then you
I
don't
would stop.
Yeah, you just look.
Because I was thinking, if this is a baby, there could be a mother, all of these things. So anyway, we did end up taking a U-turn and going back and looking at the area, but we didn't see anything. But then the next night, I was like 9 o'clock at night.
Well,
What did you want to say?
I just want to say it's really impressive that Greg was looking in the exact same spot as me and didn't see the
I'm going to
bear.
blame that on my brother Terry because he called me about the same time.
But
He
it
called you,
was
like
after.
20 minutes later.
It was
honey, 'cause
after.
We were in Wilderness Bay when he called you.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was after.
Anyway,
nice
you were
try.
looking
Nice.
in the same spot.
Yeah. So, okay. So fast
Boom,
forward
boom.
the
You
next.
hear that? That's me being thrown under the bus.
So the next night, we're done with the day. Greg and I and the girls are sitting in the sun porch.
It was just a sidebar. It was a dreary day. It was one of those. It was one of those days that it wasn't a great day weather-wise up here, but the forecast was for a great day the next day.
Correct.
So I made the suggestion: let's run to town
He goes,
tonight.
let's
get
run
it
to
taken care of."
town, get the groceries and the different things that we need. My oldest daughter has lots of dietary issues, so we had to get some things, whatever. And I was like, it's 9 o'clock at night. Like, I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night.
Me too. I mean,
And so I was like, what?
That's
and-
another thing we need to circle back to about here is nighttime. But go ahead.
Yeah.
but you get up at 5.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
We
part
can
of the story.
yeah, that's right.
Circling back.
And it's also daylight at 10 o'clock when you go to
Yeah,
bed, and you're
that's
like,
exactly right.
I'm a child yet again, going to bed when it's daylight. All that to say,
So
what
anyway,
do bears think?
I told Greg no, and then eventually he's like, "No, I really think we should go into town and get this done so we can enjoy the whole day tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, fine."
Also fair.
So he had been drinking during the day, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna drive. So we
Me?
get in the car and we're driving towards Park Rapids.
Here we go. There we go.
And we're only like 4 miles maybe down the road, and on the left hand side of the same exact intersection where we had turned and went west the night before, where Teresa saw the bear, I was like, oh, that's funny. And like in my head I'm thinking, there's a dog running around in this,
Ditch,
No,
well,
front
not even
yard.
a
It's
ditch,
the
in
front yard of the
this
house, yeah.
house. And all of a sudden I'm like, that's a bear. And he goes, that is a bear. And of course, neither one of us could get our phone out fast enough to like actually video it or anything.
Plus,
And I again monitor the situation. I do a U-turn, go back to the house. It had already crossed the road, went into the trees. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But he did see it. So the two of us saw it.
So that's your first bear
that's my
sighting.
first bear sighting.
So
yeah.
my first at 41
I just want to tell you,
was
but
last year.
We'll go back here, but here's the deal. We've got two youngest children right now. You're telling the story. What the hell are you two trying to do? You're pointing fingers.
He kicked me.
Oh
Being
God!
the youngest
For what?
children. Fuck.
They were on the baby.
Didn't you see all that stuff
No,
going
I was
on? It's
listening
like
to Stephanie and
yeah,
Tim.
you were
Yes,
being
of you.
polite and
See,
okay.
the thing is that there are actually 4 youngest children sitting around this table right
And
now,
one
other than
oldest.
you, Sarah.
You
okay,
didn't
I'm-
get the memo.
Not real sure what we're talking about.
You totally, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4 youngest children.
I'm the oldest. No wonder I'm like, I'm out. Anyway, oh gosh.
So your first
You're
bear.
the baby.
I'm the baby. Yeah.
My first bear was I was taking Huck to his dog sitter in Bemidji because that's all I could find. And she's wonderful and great. And those college girls are the most incredible human beings. Shout out to Abby and Sydney, who are the dog sitters. Anyway, so I'm taking Huck early, and this bear runs across 71, like in a way, like you know what deer look like.
Yeah.
And this, I was like, I slammed on my brakes, and I was a half a mile from it. Like it was so far away, but it was so beautiful and so wonderful and so big, and I was just like, oh my God! But it's the only time I've ever seen a bear. I've never seen it in a ditch. I've never seen it here. I mean, I've seen remnants like you were talking about, but last year was the first time I ever witnessed one, and it was just incredible. But
Well, I personally have shot a bear in Canada.
and I'm done. Shut off this podcast. I'm kidding.
And
Wait, where in Canada?
in Canada. So my
Black or-
experience, black.
Okay.
Yeah. So my experience of bears are that they're very large and they're scary. You know, I can tell my bear story some other time. But anyway, so the other night we were on the UTV again with the girls, and we were actually on our way back. We were extremely dirty. We were so dusty, like I could chew the grit in my teeth, and we were like pounding dust off of our bodies when we went to the bathroom at the convenience store. It was crazy.
All things that the three girls were concerned about. Me, no. But go ahead.
But it was incredible. Like we were on our way back. We were done.
2 inlets or where?
No,
That
we
was
were
at Lake George.
Lake George. Yeah. So we
Shout
were
out to Jim. We love you, Jim.
sponsorship by.
Jim.
Okay.
He owns and manages a liquor store and the gas station there. So it's
Awesome.
such a
I keep
wonderful,
forgetting
wonderful
about
man.
that liquor store.
So anyway,
Behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
it's-
opened it
it's
behind.
closer,
Like
but-
I haven't been there yet. But
we were probably 2 miles north of the Lake George convenience store, and we were
wait.
no.
South.
I'm sorry.
On the way back here?
Yes,
Yeah,
on the way back
Yeah.
here.
Lake Alice,
yeah.
south.
Oh,
Okay. South. Anyway, we go by this opening, and it's just a swampy pond area, and Teresa and I saw a big black blob, and we both kind of looked at each other and we were like, what was that? And Greg was going, I mean, we were just ready to get home at that
Right,
point,
right.
so he was probably going 20 some miles an hour or whatever. So
Is
he
that the place where
stops.
you go down and go around, like where? Because I
No.
never know
No,
where the
that's-
trail goes.
No, it's on this part. It's one of the forest roads. It's one of the forest roads.
Oh, it is.
Trey.
This is why we mark explicit.
Yep.
Go ahead.
That was me,
But-
Trey Pavlik, the one who does the audio for this. And that thing stinks. Huh?
Welcome to the family.
Pavlik cabin.
It's the what stays.
This is not the
staying in.
McManigal side of the cabin. I'll just tell you that right now.
It's all Pavlik.
Beer and grilled cheese, guys. Sorry.
Fair.
Grilled cheese was last night.
Oh my God, Trey! It just got. There's your what's that? What do they call that?
My must.
Smoke screen?
No, when you promote it, it's just oh my God, Trey.
I got up and
getting
left
famous,
before you guys
man.
could even smell
Yeah.
it.
Have made it.
Yes, he did. My new tag.
That was a good one.
Smell it.
That was a good one, Stephanie.
So good.
That Pav made it. Yeah.
Back to the bear.
Back to the bear. So we're driving south on this road. Greg is going fairly fast because the girls and I are pretty much done with the night. And all of a sudden we're like, what was that? And Teresa and I both said, I don't know. And so Greg decided to turn around. And so we turned around, got back to the opening area. Teresa and I actually got the binoculars out and we were looking at this blob.
And
It was nothing.
It looked like from our distance, and it was a fair distance. It looked like my description is like the bottom of like a 50-gallon drum.
But it was
It
black.
looked black. Yeah, it was round.
I mean, and it was against water and greenery. So, I mean, it stuck out fairly significantly, but it was not moving. Greg actually honked the horn of the UTV, and it still didn't move.
No.
So we were like, okay, well, whatever. We sat there probably for at least a minute.
Yeah, at least couple minutes.
Yeah. Looking through the binoculars and stuff. And anyway, so we just turned around again to come back home. And when we went back the other way, it was gone.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so we were like, that had to have been, I don't know what else could be that
right.
size.
And I agree with that, but it's still at this point, if my life depended on it, was that a bear?
Yeah, I mean, we
don't know.
We can't guarantee it
We
by
saw
any
a
stretch,
beaver
but I mean, there was a
freaking the
very
size of a bus last
large
night. So.
black
Well, I
spot
watched an awful horror movie this morning.
about a bear.
No, about a gentleman that was dressed in hunting gear that looked like a bear or a pile of something when he hid, and then when he ran.
Well, let's
serial
not
killer,
think that there was a
like,
serial killer.
yeah.
Although I have to tell you guys a story. I didn't even tell you guys about this.
No, I didn't mean to. I didn't know. No.
Thanks for
Hey, I'm
digressing
sleeping
into
alone
a
tonight,
whole
like, I
nother
don't need to hear.
genre.
Yes, you might want to stay with us tonight. So on our bike ride this morning, did you guys see
This
that
morning?
this morning? Well,
you guys
actually,
were in
it
the
was
boat.
We were
mid-afternoon.
fishing. Remember I said they were on the bike ride? I saw them drive by.
You guys
No.
went on the boat, and the girls and I went on a bike ride.
Oh, I didn't know
Okay.
We got
It's
exercise
literally
while
a
you were catching
mile
fish.
out to the highway and a mile back is all, right?
Fair. Yes.
When we were coming back, there was a very large utensil in the middle of the road that was like a T-shaped with the bottom being an open knife. And I almost stopped to look at it.
What?
Because I was like, what in the heck
Wait,
was that?
was it also going that way? Because there was something in the road when we were going.
Well, obviously it was going both ways. I just didn't see it both ways.
Okay. Well, I saw some. Was it like?
Is
It
this
was,
now a
it
true
was
crimes
between
podcast?
it was between
We're
where
turning
you
into-
hit the bridge with the or not the bridge, but where you go over the water and the
It
road.
used to be a bridge, and they made it a road.
Okay.
Oh, so
That's
it's on
another
that
story,
side.
Sarah.
It was between the water and the nursery.
And you didn't do
No,
anything with
There.
No,
There-
okay.
there-
So
wait.
I saw that. Okay, no. I saw that 2 days ago,
Okay.
and I thought someone drowned, and I didn't go back to save them as I drove over. So I think they're measuring something, either fish or temperature.
It's way up
Yep.
on the hill.
No. I thought it was in the
after
water.
No. After you cross the water, it's on the road, And you know what? If we go to Spike's tonight, sponsorship.
Spike, hey,
Then
Kirsten,
we go to
thank you.
Spike's Bar and Grill.
She is
Spike's,
currently
right.
selling
When.
that
Lake.
establishment. If
Not
anybody wants
if.
to buy it, please.
When?
Seriously?
There you go.
She
But
put it
we
for
will
sale
stop
yesterday.
on the road and find this thing because
Okay.
it was like I was like somebody
And
died.
tune into our next podcast, Minnesota
Give them a
Northern.
card, Dad.
Yes.
Just
I'm
them
like
a
somebody
card.
died
Wait.
from a bear attack because they got their knife out and it didn't work.
Wait, no,
No.
but what I was saying before is before we even hit that bridge thing or like there was just like a silver object in the road. So I like went like I like looked behind me while I was on my bike, but I mean I didn't stop. But I don't know what that was either. It looked like a fork. That's why when you said utensil, I'm like, oh, I saw that. But
No. This wasn't a
Interesting.
fork. This was a knife.
All right,
at the end.
listeners.
So anyway, stay
anyway,
Tune
tuned.
in
this
for
is
the
not
next-
supposed to be a horror story.
if this podcast is never broadcast, then
Well,
you know there was something else.
We will
that
send
went on.
this to
Yeah.
the Hubbard County Sheriffs, and we have solved something.
Now,
I just want you all to know that the mosquitoes fly around me, but have not bit me.
Lucky
No.
you.
Well,
And normally they do. So whatever your blood types are,
keep
I
it
just-
going.
So Sarah is
I'm 100%
in
in.
a
I
long
did-
sleeve shirt and short
Shorts.
shorts.
Short
and I'm
shorts.
in jeans, boots,
thank you. Oh, well, and Stephanie's killed too.
a sweatshirt, and a flannel over the sweatshirt with a hat on.
Well,
And I don't know how
and I have
you are
sprayed.
surviving right now.
I have sprayed
I'm cold.
yard guard.
Are you cold?
I'm cold.
I don't think he'd survive jumping in the lake because I'm like perfect.
I
I,
just
might
haven't-
even change into shorts.
We don't
because-
shower in Minnesota, just so you know.
No, we don't.
don't
This is
shower,
my
we don't get
uniform.
warm.
in
Somebody with a
Minnesota.
camera take a picture of Stephanie
As
right
soon
now.
as we get a warm
so,
shower in us, I'm
so
good.
we can
I
share
gotta-
this.
I'm going to the outhouse. I know.
things.
We've only been recording for 26 minutes.
An hour, over an hour and 26
Oh,
minutes.
God, I was going to say, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, listeners, but thank you for
No. So,
hanging in there.
I said we're gonna do this in a two-parter. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is something near and dear to my heart, and that is my dad's ability to build things in and around things and come up with the ideas of, you know, what things should look like, how things should work, and one of those things is the outhouse.
Oh, yes.
And we have a two-holer,
One small,
one small,
one large.
You know, who does that? You know, he
that
was
that
thinking for
was-
the grandkids.
He did. I mean, that was
Yeah.
incredible.
I mean, and the other thing that he has is a
Urinal.
urinal. He used
And what
a
is that urinal?
Do you think it was out of share what it was built out of?
well, a 1-gallon milk jug.
Right, but was
upside
it
down.
1%, 2%, or whole milk? Like, I'm
think it was
thinking
whole.
whole milk. Yeah, that it hung around this
We
long.
did not drink whole milk. Okay.
Either did
was
we drank.
skim.
So
Yeah,
2%.
Skim.
Wait, I'm sorry, listeners.
And
Yes,
Okay.
That is a
Now,
40-year-old skim milk.
we are going to say that
I got
that
that in the
particular
outhouse.
that particular Papa
it's
Top,
made in Minnesota.
and it's
you.
also one that was not opened prior.
No, and
To
it
those
is
that are
crazy,
listening.
juicy, hazy.
Oh, that's a hint.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hint, folks. But
Mm.
anyway, yeah. So we have a two-holer outhouse. One is small for children. One is large for the adults, and it also has a urinal that was made by a 1-gallon milk jug. So
And if you were listening before, you learned that me, now in my early 40s, was told in my childhood that I couldn't use the indoor bathroom.
that's true.
I had to use
we're
the outhouse.
going to have to do some fact checking on that.
I don't think the
because that-
septic tank came into play until I was
but it wasn't. If I had to go to the bathroom at
90s.
night, there was a toilet. You went inside.
I vividly remember waking mom, dad, grandpa, anybody that would wake up, like, take me to the bathroom.
Again.
And they would take me to the outhouse
Again,
as a child.
I'm gonna fact check this with your mother, my sister,
Right. Well, I mean, could you
and
imagine?
your dad,
like,
my brother.
and I do remember grandpa being like, emergencies only for the toilet, the bathroom.
FYI,
you know,
guys, this may have been a deal breaker.
Same. I mean,
supportive or not,
like
I might not have made it had
my
that been the
issue
case.
was I would have gone alone, no problem during the. But I thought I was going to get attacked by bears. So bring it back to the bears. I thought from y'all, it's maybe what
30,
20 yards,
30,
15 yards.
35 feet.
I thought I was going to be attacked by bears. So I mean, what kid wants to go out in the dark?
I still think that.
No, I was in
24.
Alaska when I was in my 40s, and I would not have taken that
No,
trap.
well, you would have been attacked by
Yeah.
bears.
So I did use a 5-gallon
Sue
bucket.
Oh,
but
You
I don't
know,
know. Favorite
if
person in
that,
Alaska.
There's a spider crawling up your ear.
that's fine. But the whole thing with that, with regard to the outhouse and using it at night, I mean,
It's incredible
I'm pretty sure that
what he built.
no, I'm pretty sure for me it was an oh hell no. You know, if I need to
You
go
were
to the
like,
bathroom.
no, I'm not using that.
No,
You got to use the
it's,
toilet.
you know, we'll deal with
Well.
that. But
But yeah, they don't.
messing up
Do you
against
remember
me.
the time the cat, the whatever that thing was called that was scraping, its brakes went out.
oh my goodness, that's a great story.
And
That's
I was in
no
the
the grader,
outhouse.
the road
The
grader that
the
came
road
through.
grader came up, and there's a turnaround. Actually, the next door neighbors now because of this.
Chester.
So this used to be the turnaround right here. Other pinpoint. I'm so sorry. What do you name? What did you name them?
Chester.
Chester. We did too. Chester and Cheeto.
Okay, we're talking
The
about a
chipmunks.
chipmunks
Oh,
now.
that's a
so
There's a
squirrel.
chipmunk running
that's a
around.
little squirrel.
Yep.
No, that's a squirrel.
Oh, they moved into our house this winter, and now I hate them. We have acorns all
This is
over.
we are seeing a squirrel, and this is a
Oh, that's not.
this is
baby
a
squirrel.
squirrel
No,
moment.
that's a
Not
red
Chester.
squirrel. No, they're baby red squirrels, but they're
Yeah.
chipmunks.
Chester and what?
Cheeto.
That's Cheeto.
No,
No, that's asshole because he moved into my house in the winter and brought all
What's up, baby
the acorns.
It's really close.
little boy.
okay. Back to the story of the outhouse and the road grader.
Yes,
please.
So this used to be the turnaround.
Right.
Remember? And we were I promise you on my life, I was in that outhouse and then left and then came in at, let's just say it's 15 minutes later, whatever it was. And the grader came and the brakes went out
Right. Now,
right at the
your
top.
dad's side of the story, as I remember, it was he heard the sound of the grader getting closer and closer
Yep.
and closer
Yep.
and expecting it to slow down and getting closer and closer, and it wasn't slowing down.
not, did
and
not. And it came down and there was a tree, a pine tree, right in front of that, the outhouse, and it hit the tree. We have pictures of it here. Like it
Yeah,
hit
we
the
do.
tree is what stopped it. But it would have hit that outhouse had that tree not been there. And I was the last one in there. So it could have been 30 minutes. It could have been 5 hours. It could have been 2 minutes. It was like, but I was in there. I was in there last. And so the grader, it used to turn around here, and now they turn around at the neighbors up the road.
Right.
They've made a little spot so that they turn around because of, I guess,
That incident.
that incident.
But the sidebar to that story was the guy was so, I don't know if you want to call shaken up or whatever,
So shaken up.
but he gave your dad the location of
Yes. The secret lake.
the secret lake that
Secret
northern
lake.
pike were just thick in there, and
Walleye, pike,
he
all
and
of it.
he and your cousin Jim, yeah,
Yep.
went, or his cousin Jim went there and caught northern
And
pike.
to this day, Dad does not remember how to get there. That man drove him there.
Yeah.
And because I'm like, Dad, I remember all of it. And at that point, I was probably 16, right? Like before it was cool to like go fishing and do all that. But I was like, Dad, like, can we get there? Do you think you can get there? He's like, no, that man drove us.
Yeah.
And
blindfolded us, so
Basically,
we could,
yeah.
because it was a
And
secret
maybe
lake.
that's candy.
Like, no, I kind of
Well,
remember, but
God knows.
it's like, and I don't know that he took him down. Whatever, it could be the end of our lake. Who knows? But took him all these places, and he's like, look, in the other cooler, and they're like, you can only take so many fish, and they hit their limit in like 2 hours.
Yep. It was
Still one of my favorite stories of
Yeah.
the secret lake. But
no.
did you know? Okay, off of 113, have you caught any trout up here ever?
In this lake?
No, not this lake.
No,
I'm sorry.
Sarah, I have never fished any lake
Either have
in
I.
and around here other than
And
Little
I heard
Mantrap.
up
Do you
113.
not fish Lake George ever?
No.
I
Or
well,
Boot Lake?
I'm
No.
sorry. I went to Parham. I went to Otter Tail. I took Dad for his birthday.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
And we went with a guide. And I mean, we caught so many walleye.
I just heard a loon, so that's
It'll
what
be
I
in the
was
background,
pointing
that's
at.
good.
So
I made the outro for a reason.
You need to go sit on our dock and record. They are. Well, there are 2 in our bay.
If they're loud, that's good.
So loud. It's already. But like that, I look up. I'm like, anytime I hear the one call, I'm like, oh, there's an eagle. There's an eagle. Anyway, Dad and I went to Otter Tail, and granted, it was a guide who could go and look, but I took Danielle's brother with me once to see him fish with him, and that we call the crappie. Dad and I caught walleye like I've never caught in my life, and pike.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I baked the pike with truffle oil and Parmesan cheese. I had walleye and pike right next to each other, and I preferred the pike.
yeah. No,
The meat of the pike was, well, he
Well-
helped cut it. Like you got to take out a little bone when you're eating, but versus, I mean, I love walleye. It's my favorite. But the pike meat was incredible. It's the first time I had it not pickled. And so I was like, oh, this is good meat. It's really good meat.
you mentioned Herbie earlier, and
My-
a trip
Could have
prior.
been my dad.
I'm not going there, but
Just kidding, Herbie.
just kidding, Steve.
Oh, Steve. Oh, that's who we're worried about. Love you, Dad.
But that was a trip prior to Mom wanting to buy the cabin from the rest of her family, and we came up here, Herbie and I, and your mom and Aunt Rosemary, because they were looking to sell the cabin. So they were Aunt Rosemary were getting the things out that,
Okay, because
that
I'm
they
wondering
wanted
why
to save.
Rosemary was coming because she
Yeah.
hated it.
Oh, I don't know if she hated it.
Well,
but
Grandma said she hated it. She'd stay in the car, listen to music, not go in,
see,
maybe it was
I was up here many times with Aunt Rosemary, and I'm not aware of her staying in the car. She
I
would.
love it.
She,
I love it.
But
So, but she adores her
was
mother.
the first one that had a net to
Yeah,
sleep with.
she probably did.
she probably
actually.
did, and yeah,
that,
you're
that
right.
was actually, I mean,
that would
Stephanie,
be an
that
Aunt
is
Rosemary
100%
thing to
true.
do. Yes.
But she also adored
was
her
the
parents
first
so much.
smart
She'd
one.
come up
Yeah.
here to take
Yeah.
the wonderful things.
But Herbie and I fished, all the time that your mom and Aunt Rosemary were doing the things in the cabin, and we caught a lot of pike, and Herbie was the one that introduced me to poor man's lobster, to take the walleye and
The
excuse me, the pike,
Pike.
northern pike, and skin it and boil it, and then serve it up like with drawn butter. And you have to pick through the bones and everything. And then a few years after that, I heard, I think it was on a radio, on a different radio program or podcast, that you need to boil it in 7-Up. And that did really make a big difference, to be honest. But you
And what? The texture of the meat or the bone?
the taste, just the taste. The sweet of the 7-Up.
Yeah.
And you skin it and steak it,
Right.
and when you drop it in the boiling 7-Up, and when it rises to the top, it's done. Take it out. You don't want to overcook it.
Interesting.
But you still have to pick through some bones. But the
Oh,
flavor,
sure.
the
Oh,
flavor
my
of
goodness,
northern
the
pike
flavor.
is
Well, it's like, I mean, I was eating pickled northern as a child.
Right.
Like,
Taking the
Right.
peppercorns off it.
yes.
Trying to eat it.
Oh,
That shit's so
gosh.
good.
I loved it. And I have great
Pick one that
grandma's
makes it.
recipe on
Sure.
the wall.
Yeah.
And there's another fish. I'm sure she made 12 fish.
no, that was your grandpa that did that. Your grandpa made those for all of us.
Oh,
yeah.
the fish?
Yeah, the fish and the little burnt
Great
ends of the
grandma's recipe. Oh,
yeah,
I'll have
yeah.
one.
Grandma of Andrachek's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Uncle Terry is giving me his the fish that was to the left of the fireplace at Grandma and Grandpa's.
Mhm.
The copper, I don't know, it's copper fish.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'd love this. Whose is this? And Mom's like, it's Terry's, and he gets it. And I'm like, but he's letting me have it up here. So They're little things. It's like they're so important, and our family is so important. Minus the family that's screwing around right now. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, they want to eat. Mesa,
What?
what do you want to
gonna
say
be up
about
here
the
every
cabin
year.
up here? What I can guess what
The fishing.
the fishing. What about the water?
Clear as clear.
Clear as clear.
Have you gone swimming in it?
She has, and she has used the outhouse as well.
Oh, girl.
Me too. I
Yep,
use outhouse.
Teresa used the outhouse
did
as well.
you?
Yes, Stephanie, you have used the outhouse as well. What,
No.
Teresa? Teresa's raising her hand.
All right, Mesa. Outside of all of that, what is your favorite thing that's different from any other place you've been?
The clear like punch at our house.
Yeah.
Punch it. Yeah, it's not clear.
It's so.
That's what we tell everybody too. Like,
It's
look,
like you have no idea how clear
So-
it is. Like you.
well,
people
you
have
can hear.
no
You can
clue.
typically on a good year, you can see 20 feet
That's what I.
below. And then,
You can
know,
see
a couple years ago,
two.
it's like, oh, we can see 14. But Danielle will tell people, like, you can see your toenail polish when you're swimming. And I'm like, that's all great and good until you know the story of how this lake got named.
Yeah, now let's go back to that. So,
So-
you
I
talk
still
about
don't know that name.
yeah. Sarah can tell the
still don't know.
story, and I
so
know
this is
that it
my
had,
grandfather, Edwin Pathlick, told me, because the name of this place is Little Mantrap, right?
Yeah.
And so up here, obviously back in the, just call it 1800s, pines are growing like no other, and it's as America is expanding. So people are starting to build houses and do things that they've never done before. So all of a sudden, the pines of Minnesota become very popular because people are building houses.
for the lumber industry.
Lumber.
Yeah.
Lumber. So there are lumberjacks, all these things, so everywhere around us. It is happening everywhere. And on this specific lake, so this, let me be clear, this is what my grandfather told me.
Yes, this
not
is-
what is history.
This may be just a legend.
Because I've got two stories. I have the other story that I've learned later in life. So what my grandfather told me, because Park Rapids, Minnesota, which is the nearest town, has a very wide main street where cars park diagonally right in front of the buildings, but then there's a middle road
in the
where
middle of the
cars park in the middle. It's because of the logging carriages. I don't even know, whatever horses are pulling.
Trucks, yeah. Well, they
No,
were
it's
at
not
that
truck-
time.
no,
They
at
were
that point,
horse
it's
drawn.
horses.
Yes.
Pulling these things, and so they could turn around and come back after they dropped off logs.
Well, they could park in the middle.
That too,
Yeah.
but it was more about the turnaround. And here we had a lot of pines, and apparently there was a little man that was in charge. That my grandfather told me, and he was over on what we call Bear Island, and chopping down trees, pulling off that lumber. And he's like, all right, I got this one. And he was taking the horses across on the sled. So there are a number of trees on the sled, and the horses are taking it across
In the wintertime.
in the winter. And it should be fine. Like, everything should be fine. Well, he hit some compromised ice. And in my head, the horse didn't fall through, but I'm assuming the horse and everything fell through, and that little man fell through and got trapped under the ice. And other people that were cutting down trees on the island couldn't get to him. And it was a little man that was trapped under the lake, under the ice. And that is
sad.
sad or scary. Like, that is like, wait, is he gonna get me? Like, to this day, I swim in this lake, and I'm like, that little man's gonna grab my leg ankle. I'm like, Grandpa told us
gonna be
that.
like,
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Man
Yeah,
trap,
that's
right?
gonna say what's
So
okay.
then
What's
the
the
real
side?
story is the Native Americans, because of the inlets here,
Right.
right? So Big Mantrap, similar inlets, same here. You've got what we call, well, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
our
Go-
family has named them.
We have all these different areas named. Go ahead, use the names.
Yes.
We've
Anyway, but there is Big Mantrap that has a number of inlets that apparently, when you would go in with your boat, you get lost.
Oh.
You couldn't get back out.
I have a story about that.
Here
My,
on that.
no. My husband and trap being in little fingers.
She thought she was gonna die.
We
Yeah,
have
no,
Shangri-La,
that's another
which
podcast,
our
yes.
great-grandfather, your grandfather named Shangri-La. There's Wilderness Bay. But anyway, so this is the little
There's Beaver Dam.
Bear Island, all of it.
Yeah.
And then apparently your Uncle George, Pike Alley.
Right.
But anyway, so we have named our places, but Big Mantrap this is named by the Native Americans, Big Mantrap, Little Mantrap, because it's all the inlets that are more than we even know.
Mm-hmm.
That you go into with your canoe and you get stuck and you can't get out. So that's how they named it Mantrap. There's a big one and we're the little one of the lakes. So that's what it is. And there are, like, you look at a aerial view and you're like, oh man, can you get through? But you can only get through in spring. And if you don't come out before then it's all gone. Like it's pretty
And
intense.
they say Minnesota's a land of 10,000 lakes, and the one time Aunt Rosemary and Uncle June, they both flew, and one time they came up and landed nearby at a Aero Estates resort, and that was my first airplane ride actually from there back to Park Rapids. And when you get up in the air,
No way.
yeah, when you get up in the air,
It's like an ocean.
you wonder some of these
see.
areas where the roads even stay afloat. If there's 10,000 lakes, there's 15,000 or 20,000, and there's probably that many more unnamed because they're not large enough. There's just water everywhere in this part of the country.
Right. It hangs in there.
So anyway, well, we're going to have to call this quits here pretty soon here because we've got some hangry children.
We got a teenager
We need to get to
right here.
Spikes, another sponsorship potential there. But
Well, if anyone wants to buy Spikes, she's selling it.
she is. That's sad to hear.
It
That's
is.
sad to hear.
Sarah, they're selling spikes.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy
I could
it?
tell you what Danielle said in that response, but I don't feel like that should be
That should be
recorded.
that shouldn't be recorded, or maybe let Danielle say that later, right?
But then we're like, but what fun would we have if we ran that? Like, no.
I'd move.
But anyway, thank.
All right, we got our first bartender.
Oh yeah,
I can make the menu.
the menu too. Well, everyone, thank you again for being part of the Unbroken Arrows podcast here. It's a Whispering Pinescast. So I want to make sure to say thank you to everybody. And it's, Stephanie and Trey were talking about, the different ideas about what it means to be part of something like this. And and again, like Sara says, 2 steps up from camping in a tent. It's not the Ritz, but you know what? It's been in the family for over 90 years, and I bet there isn't a day that goes by that Grandma Pavlik wouldn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And at her 96 years right now, it's part of her, and it's part of us as well. So thank you for taking the time to talk about this a little bit. And like I said, we're probably going to do this in 2 different podcasts because we're well over an hour in terms of what we're talking, or the time that we're talking. But again, as always, with our podcast, we want to make sure that whether you're healing for the hunt or hunting for healing, this is what it's all about. And Nastravi to
Nastravi.
all the people that are sitting at
love
this
you
table. Love you
Cheers. To the
And-
new and the recent and the
additions
history.
to the
Yeah. And to the fisherwoman over
to
there.
the fisherwoman Mesa,
has caught so
who
many.
you've heard throughout the podcast going, I got one.
I got a fish.
So
More
anyway,
than I've caught. So
as I say to everyone that's listening, take the time to get outdoors, enjoy its healing powers. And I know that we did this afternoon. So thanks again to everybody. And until next time.